Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about working for yourself and finding work-life balance. Kenny is with me. Hello and welcome.
Konnichiwa.
Would you mind just introducing yourself, please, and talking us through your job role?
My name is Kenny, born and raised Bristol, 31, and I am a barber and cafe owner.
Wow. How did you end up being a barber and cafe owner?
I got really bored of working for other people.
Yeah.
And basically, I really don't like being told what to do. I'm not very good at it. So I just worked out a way that I can do what I enjoy, which is just chatting to people all day, being a little bit creative by cutting their hair and doing things like that. But then the cafe and bar was just an excuse to expand that sort of stuff by still talking to people, but not having to touch them.
Right. Let's see. And how did you start on this journey to ending up where you are now? Did you start off working for other people?
Yeah. So straight from 18, leaving school, I worked in signage and printing. So a lot of shop fronts and interior design. Did that all the way up until 26. And that was when I started cutting hair. So I did a part-time course whilst I was doing a Monday to Friday 9 till 5 in a sales job, because I quit the signage so I could have more time so I could do a barbering course, and just trained for about 6 months and then went off to start working in a shop.
Wow. And how did you balance that? That period must have been really difficult when you were sort of working and then you're also doing your course. How did you manage that?
That was really easy because I went from like working on like horrible building sites, doing the signage, and there was a lot of nice stuff. You worked in a lot of like schools and hospitals, places that you need a lot of signage. And I was just bored of being in those places. So I didn't have any time to do that because it was a lot of site works, a lot of evenings, a lot of weekends. So that was why I decided to do the sales job Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, earn a little bit more money. And that way I could segregate. And I thought, if I'm going to learn how to cut hair, I can practice in the evenings and on the weekends. So it was quite easy for me then to finish work at 5, go and learn how to cut hair in a college. And then on the weekends, whoever was brave enough, I would practice on them.
Who was your first victim?
First victim was actually my brother-in-law. I actually owe somehow a lot to him because I remember so clearly he was just talking to me by the course, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. And along with the course, the equipment was included. And he just said, so have you got your clippers? It's like, yeah. It's about 3 weeks in. And he was like, let's go. Come on.
Oh, wow. Oh, he wanted you to come in there.
He was really confident. He was really confident. Yeah. And I remember he just went into the conservatory, pulled out a chair and was like, let's go, do your worst. And it was the worst I've ever done. It was terrible. Yeah.
Have you ever had anyone ask for a really awful haircut?
Yeah, every day. I work
really?
in the centre of Bristol. I have first year Bristol uni students. Apparently they still think mullets are cool. So they just come in all the time and just keep getting them.
I've seen a lot of mullets.
It's ridiculous.
Have you just got to like bite your tongue and...
Yeah, well, they pay my rent. So I don't mind. I'm pretty comfortable with it. I don't enjoy doing them, but they do pay me at the end of it.
Yeah.
That's sort of the end goal.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you can't really get someone in and be like, well, I sort of thought that I'd just go do my own vision on you today rather than what you asked for.
I've changed things, yeah. So they've had like the really aggressive sort of look of a mullet, so really high and whatnot. And then I've turned it into like a low taper. So I've just done a little bit here and a little bit there. And I still charge them full price and get money for it.
Ideal.
Yeah, I don't mind.
So Martin Lewis money saving expert right here. But talk us through your shop that you have now, because I think that's really interesting. I had a little look. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of describe it to us as if we're walking in?
We've gone with the cool guy, am I too old to be in here if you're over the age of 35 vibe.
Right.
But that's not really something that we pushed.
Okay.
It was more, it just sort of happened. So we started a lot more with what me and my business partner really like is the skateboard vibe. So we don't skateboard. We're not into it as such, but we get the culture behind it, you know, the clothing and the actual skateboards, the designs that come with that. So it's that cool guy look. We do have a couple of skateboards up, just pretty basic with the 4 chairs and the 4 mirrors. It's just one of those vibey places.
Yeah.
Right, a Bristol vibe.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's like cool skater boys and then like Avril Lavigne, you know, she's there. She loves to skate to mine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she'd fit in very well, but we would definitely accommodate her if she wanted one of these.
Yeah, if she wanted a mullet,
yeah,
have to blind.
We could bring her in. Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about your journey into your kind of position within the barbershop now? Because I think that's quite interesting how you've kind of grown your career that way. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I worked in one shop for a few months when I first started, and that was my old barber. And when I qualified, he was like, I'll give you a job. So I worked there for a few months, then decided to go work somewhere else just for location-wise. It's just closer to home. Worked there for a year, built up my client base. And then I moved nearer to the town centre where I knew I wanted to be. I wanted to start a shop there. And I actually bumped into a guy that was the boyfriend of a girl that was doing a course at the same time as me.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew this person, and he used to come in, take them, collect them at the end of the day, and off they went, and sort of recognised him, and he was like, "You're Kenny, you're the guy who did the barbering course." I was like, "Yeah, I know you." So we got talking, and he didn't say too much to me at the time because he was in front of what was the barbershop owner that he was working at. And he texted me later on that evening and was like, "I couldn't say too much, but I'm actually opening my own barbershop in town if you need someone to work." So I started working with him. And within the first week, I said to him, "This is great. It's going really, really well. But I'm actually going to leave as soon as possible because I want to start my own barbershop. And I want to start it by the time I'm 30. At this point, I was 27. And he was like, "Well, let's see how we go. And maybe we can get some sort of partnership going on." There was remember that guy in China ate a bat, ruined everything for like years? Yeah, that sort of put a spanner in the works for a while. But a couple of years later, we got there and I ended up investing with him. So now we're business partners. So now we're 50-50 on that shop. Because it was just a case of I was going to leave and I viewed 2 or 3 other shops and I told him, "I've checked out this shop. And after a while, he was like, "No, don't do that. Fuck it. Here's a price, buy in." And now we're business partners.
Wow. How do you manage that partnership? And also, we have to say, we don't know the sources of the COVID pandemic yet.
Yeah, no, we don't. We all know it was.
So how do you manage your working relationship?
We drink together a lot, which is good. Obviously work together in the shop all day, 5 days a week. It's one of those things, we don't actually talk in the shop a lot. So I work at one end, he works at the other. We have another barber in the middle, then one behind me. We don't actually cross-communicate a great deal because obviously we're talking with our own clients. So usually every Tuesday, it's a case of we'll finish work at the same time by 7 o'clock and we'll both look at each other and be like, "Going for a pint." And then we go off and do that. We sit together, we come up with ideas, we discuss, do we want to do this, do we want to do that? And then the rest of the week we sort of think about it, manifest it a little bit over like text message and whatnot, and then it just follows up from there.
And how do you find that? Do you find you take work home a lot, or are you able to just de-stress at the end of the day?
I don't have any stress, so I don't really need the de-stress.
Yeah.
Without sounding like a weird arrogance. Like
you seem very unbothered.
It's just works. Like I get home and I'm quite happy to text a client if they're like, "Can I move my appointment? Can I do this? Can I do that?" It doesn't faze me. It's not difficult. It's not stressful. So I don't really have any worry about I take my work home with me, because it sounds a little bit wanky, but it's all together. Like it is my life. I've chosen it to be like that. It's not really a bother taking it home.
Are there any parts of the job that do get a bit stressful, or any parts that have been stressful, perhaps when you were younger?
Money when you first start is an obvious thing. I chose to stay at home with mum and dad, who were really great at I say great, they just sort of gave up and just kind of went, you do what you want, you just crack on. And they just let me say to them, I'm going to do a barbering course and then I'm going to learn how to be a barber. Saved up. I worked out about half of my wages of that year, the office job that I've just earned, saved up my money, then went into working, and you're earning £15-20 a day the first, say, 6 to 8 weeks. When you're a barber, you're earning nothing. And then you build up from there. That's pretty stressful, but because I prepared, I didn't really have that at the time, but you're always thinking about it. I made a plan to make £60 a day, which I think is 18 grand a year, which is the job that I left. That's what I was on. Once I hit that, I knew I wanted to do £100 a day, then 150. When I made 150 a day, I knew I could afford to move out of my parents, then build up to 200, etc., etc. So that was the early stress, but the stress now, which again, it's not really stress, but I do say to everybody, I can teach probably you right now how to cut hair to a decent standard, 2 back and sides, mullets.
That's a
buzz
podcast.
cut, easy stuff. I could teach you how to do that in 6 to 8 weeks. The most difficult thing about my job, I think, is doing it every day. Do it, 5 days a week, and talking with those people, making the same conversations or different conversations. Usually you just talk about tits and football, and that's great. That's kind of easy, but it's also a lot of, you can hear a lot of stories that are a little bit like, no, I need to be careful how I word these things, or do you just let them talk and take it in and let them make their own decisions and their own mind up? But a lot of the times they come to you and have a haircut, but they want you to come up with a plan for their life.
Yeah.
It's not really stress, but it's something that I do think about a lot. When I go home, I'm like, should I have told that guy to definitely leave his girlfriend? Or should I have said something else? Yeah, stress is the wrong word, but it's definitely a lot to think about.
Well, I imagine for men, there's a lot of talk about men and mental health, and I imagine there's fewer spaces for men to open up. So I guess your shop, people feel they can have a good chat with you about things. And do you find a way just to compartmentalize that so you're not thinking about it too much?
Yes, I am an advocate for men talking and whatnot, and the mental health side of things. What I will say is, from my experience, they're a lot more simple than you think, and I don't mean that horribly. Every guy that sits in my chair and they're stressed about something, and then you just get them talking about whatever they're into, be it football, whatever, on the weekend, and you watch them just, and it's somebody that was, I guess you could say, willing to listen, but obviously I'm cutting the hair, so I'm doing a job. But sometimes they just need that. They don't need you to come up with ideas or plans or an example of something to do. They just need to be heard. That's kind of what I do. Just kind of listen to them and go, all right, cool. Then I'll tell them a funny anecdote, and then they'll laugh, and then they'll walk out feeling much better, I hope.
Yeah, you hope that's the experience they have. And have you always been a planner? Because you mentioned having your kind of financial plans sort of set up. Have you always been thinking ahead and preparing?
I would argue that I live sort of with the vibe of, if you don't have a plan, then you can't fuck up. That's kind of what I do. Because if you say, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. So the plan of earning this amount of money a day, it wasn't really a plan. It was more of, when that starts happening, I can do this. But if I'd set a time scale, then and then I didn't hit that time scale, I would have failed. So it was a plan in terms of, this is what I want to do. But if it didn't work out, I would have worked out another way. So I've never really planned much, just kind of allowed it to happen and been open to those things. Like, I knew that I was going to own a barbershop by the time I'm 30. I just knew, if there was no way it was going to happen. How I got there didn't really matter. I knew I wanted to live in town and work in town. So whatever shop, it didn't matter. I was going to be there regardless. So that wasn't really a plan as such. I just did it and then it happened. So I wouldn't say how much of a planner now.
So in my kind of analysis, it almost seemed like you broke the bigger task down into just doing the immediate thing and not focusing too much on the big picture, or if I got that wrong?
I would say you got it wrong because I didn't really plan, as I said. I knew where I was going to be.
Yeah.
Just because I knew. And I don't mean that in an arrogant sense at all, because I winged it.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. How did you know, like, is that like, I'm going to be there, I'm just going to make that happen, and it's just going to happen.
It's not that difficult. You can, big word, manifest. Yeah. You can manifest things, from my experience, I can manifest things quite easily just by doing it. So I mentioned quite a few times, would it be great to be a barber and maybe drive across America and cut people's hair out of a van? And I kept saying it to friends, that's what I'm going to do. And then once I learned how to cut hair, I was like, no, I don't want to drive across America in a van and have no money and go back to that. I've done traveling, I've done those things. Didn't really interest me anymore. As soon as I qualified, it didn't interest me. I thought, no, I'd rather earn some money. So I went on and started practicing and then just went into it. Like I knew somebody that would give me a job. So I knew when I was doing that job and I was talking to him, texting him, being like, oh, I'm doing a barbering course. He was like, no way, let me know when you're qualified and I'll give you a job. And I was like, yeah, I know. I know that's good. I knew you were going to do that. But if I didn't tell him, then I wouldn't have got that. I knew when I walked into town that day and I was looking for a shop to work in, I knew my now business partner worked in that shop. I knew when I walked past, I was either going to stick my head in or he was going to see me. Just so happened that he was stood outside.
Yeah.
So it's that, what was the Gary Vaynerchuk quote? That great quote we had about luck is preparation, meeting opportunity, and all of that is just, that's kind of what happened. I was already prepared, and when that opportunity came up, I was just there. I just knew it was going to work.
And do you still have that thing of like being ambitious and kind of wanting to drive things further? Are you able to kind of switch that off at all and just take it easy?
It just goes back to I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I'm just terribly, not arrogant person. I think that would be the wrong word, but I just cannot be told. I'm just a little bit righteous, where I just know that by the time I'm 40, I want to be working 4 days a week or 3 days a week cutting hair, and the other day is at the bar or the cafe. And the 5th day is sitting with a business partner, going to play golf somewhere, or sitting in the pub, or being in our cafe and bar, which is watching the business work and working on what we need to do, but also relaxing at the same time. I'm not aiming to have a Ferrari or a big house or have 6 figures plus in the bank. I'm aiming to just not have to work a lot. Just a bit lazy, actually. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
The ambition is to just be as lazy as possible.
Yeah, so I'm going to be ambitious now so I can be lazy in the future.
Exactly.
Get it?
Exactly.
And I think you're interesting because you've got your 2 businesses that you're running. How are you able to balance both of those?
So we were sort of smart enough to open a cafe and bar 10 doors down from our current barbershop.
Right.
So we are at number 8 on Perry Road, and then we have number 19 on Perry Road. So we knew this business very well. When the chance came up, we decided to take it. And part of the appeal was the fact that we can run up and down whenever we want to, which means getting a coffee in the daytime, and then we can talk to staff. And then in the evening, we can go down there and work on the place and again, talk to staff. So in terms of juggling it, I have to walk past it to go to the shop in the morning. And then when I leave to walk home, I have to go past it again. It's not difficult to juggle. Just to juggle the two. Sweet.
Have there been any major differences between running the barbershop versus the cafe?
In the barbershop, we don't hire anybody.
Okay.
We are all self-employed.
Right.
So me and my business partner were self-employed. Then obviously we started the company together, like a limited company. We have 2 other lads that work for us, but they are self-employed, so they pay their own taxes, do their own books. They pay us a fixed rate every week.
Ah, I see.
However, with the cafe and the bar, we have hired 2 people. We've hired a manager and an assistant, and that's weird being a...
Yeah.
It's very strange. I don't see it as that. I have introduced myself to them as we are the owners, not your boss. So that's the only real difference, is knowing that we have to pay their wages every month, no matter what. So whether we sell enough coffee or enough cakes, brownies, etc., I still have to pay their wages. And that's the only real major difference that I'm seeing at the moment. Aside from that, it's pretty easy.
How do you organize it all? Do you have kind of 2 different sides of your brain? Are you able to just hop between the 2 and be like, oh, I need to do that for this and that? How do you kind of lay it out?
I just use a bunch of iPhone notes.
Right.
And just go, what do I need to do? And then I go down to Becky, our manager in the cafe, and I just go, what do you need? And she's like, I need these stands made for all the cakes. I'm like, cool, I'll do that tonight. So I grab a coffee, I go back, write it down on my phone, finish cutting hair, 7 o'clock, lock the doors. I'm in the cafe at 7:05, and I'm making her these stands with the tools. So it's kind of a case of just getting that done. We collected the keys on Thursday to a new barbershop.
Oh, wow.
And I was there today measuring up and doing things that we needed to be done. That wasn't written down. It was, we got the keys. My days off are Sunday and Monday. I spent all day yesterday being horizontal, doing the square root of fuck all. And then today I knew that I needed to be in either the cafe or the new barbershop measuring up. It just happens.
Is that how you relax best? Just completely turning everything off, just like corpse time, lying down?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's kind of a lie. I did spend 2 hours in the cafe yesterday trying to make something. Yeah, I'm very good at watching something or listening to something to relax. I'm very good at that.
Right.
I love a good documentary. I'm very good at that. Not very good at reading. Terrible at that. Love a good podcast. I cannot clean my flat, vacuum, walk to work, go to the gym without listening to a podcast. So that helps a lot, because I will listen to somebody that's doing something similar to me, either running a business or following a passion. Or I will obviously just listen to Beastie Boys and Wu-Tang really loudly to get you through the day.
Yeah.
That's how I like to relax, is by watching something or listening to something.
And it sounds as well like you manage people how you want to be managed. Like you almost want to enable people to be able to do their job rather than telling them how to do their job. Do you see your role as a boss differently because you like to be self-employed? You almost treat people the same way? Yeah,
I've had a real thing with like a new chap that's just started at the barbershop recently. He has come from a shop that he had to be there at 9 in the morning, had to leave at 6, wasn't allowed to leave before, even though he was self-employed. And I literally told him from day one, here's the keys. Yeah. You pay us every Monday. That goes into the bank account. Other than that, you do what the fuck you want. That's genuinely the rules. And I wish I was told that more and then had that freedom to then go off and do something, which is why then I went into being self-employed. I have told everyone that works with us or for us, like, you do whatever you want as long as you do the groundwork, which is, I've spoken to Becky, we've given her a magic number. This is the amount of money we need to make every day. Aside from that, you can turn up hungover, you could turn up still drunk, do any of that, as long as that money goes in that account for that business. That's all we need. And not enough people in my life previously have told me that. They were just like, you're somebody, then you work here and you shut your mouth and you don't go anywhere with it, and I tell you what to do. And I left because I didn't want that. So I hope no one would leave because we give them that comfortable.
Would you like people to enjoy working? Do you think fun is a big part of working in a barbershop?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, sort of go with the David Brent aspect of life, and we just give them the best place ever to work at.
Yeah.
And they see it when we're there. And I think it's one of those, in our industry of barbering, there's a lot of arseholes out there that like to think they can still tell people what to do, what time they need to be in, what days they can take off. We don't do that. You're self-employed. If you're going to come here self-employed, it's up to you to see how much money you want to earn. As long as you pay the rent, that's it. It's not that difficult.
But even within that, it seems like you've set boundaries. That seems a really important part of your ethos, is that people can do what they like, but that's what they're working to ultimately.
You can have fun within the rules, Nat.
Yeah.
The rules are, there are no rules apart from pay the bills.
Right.
You got to pay the bills. It's
Yeah.
not. I've said to my business partner before, I don't want to make a living out of other people's living.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to charge too much chair rent in the barbershop for the sake of it. I want to pay as much as we can in the cafe, to the point where it's not a detriment to us paying the rent on the building, and we profit enough that we've made our money back.
That sounds really decent. Yeah.
It's not that difficult. No.
Yeah. And do you think that helps you not almost stress about work outside of work? Because you think, well, I'm doing the best that I can and I'm trying to be fair to people. Mm-hmm. Is that a core value of your work?
Yeah, I don't worry, because we were up front from the start. I know that they're trusted to lock the barbershop and put the alarm on. I know they're trusted to lock the cafe and put the alarm on and turn off the coffee machine. That's done. I can walk away freely. I won't make as much money from it, but I'll have a much more stress-free life, which is kind of what I'm going for.
And in the future, you mentioned wanting to work less. Mm-hmm. What does like the ideal chilled out lifestyle look for you? I know you mentioned working 4 days a week. What's more in the future of your chilled out lifestyle?
I don't like getting up on single digits.
Yeah.
So I choose to work 10 till 7.
Right.
So I'll have to obviously set my alarm beforehand. So in an ideal world, I get to get up when I want, but I love to get up, go to the gym, go for a bite to eat, grab a coffee. Only have to do 4 to 6 hours worth of work, cutting hair, being in a cafe, and have the ability to wake up on a Monday and finish early on a Friday afternoon and plan what I want for that weekend or throughout the week. I want to be able to just say, if somebody says to me, there's a gig on Wednesday night, do you fancy it? Yes. Do you want to come to this on Friday morning? Yes. I love that side of things, to have that power, to take that away from evil bosses that have never given people that. Like, we've had guys in the shop say like, oh, I want to chip off early on Thursday actually because there's this. Do you reckon I could? It's like, yeah, what are you telling me for? Just text your client, get him to come in earlier and just go and do that. And that's exactly what I'm going for, the exact same thing.
You're going hard on the life and easy on the work and the work-life balance.
But the work isn't, it is part of the life.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to cut somebody's hair and talk about their day and share interests with them. So it's just a fun thing I get to do. Otherwise, you'd be sat at home doing nothing. So I want to go and chat to somebody, because these clients just become friends anyway. So all I'm doing is just going to hang out with nice people. They pay me for it because they have a nice haircut at the end. And then I go home and flick through the same 3 apps that I have been doing for the last 10 years anyway. No, I actually like to do other things. Yeah.
What would you be doing if you weren't cutting hair? It seems like it's such an integral part of your life now.
I would probably still be miserable on building sites and in offices. I got really bored of driving to London and Liverpool and Manchester, and that was what I was doing before. When I left school at 18, that was normal. It was like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'd still be doing. And I've quit my job twice to go traveling. The first time I interrailed Europe, second time I did Australia, New Zealand and Asia. And each time I did it, it was that relief of not having to work for anybody anymore. So I would probably still just be working for somebody and be miserable if I didn't just quit my job and go off and do something.
So a final question for you, because it seems like you've hacked the work-life balance. You seem so relaxed and at peace. What advice would you give to someone trying to improve their work-life balance?
Stop making excuses is a big one, which I don't want to go all Molly May on it, but we do.
We have the same 24
We do, and that's from my experience. I am a very privileged person in terms of I've had an awesome upbringing. I'm a straight white British male. I've had no prejudice. I've grown up in a really good place in Bristol, which is already a very vibrant and open city. But I was realizing that I was going home and doing nothing, and I needed to use those hours correctly. So I started doing the barbering course. I would just say, you try and break it down. 24 hours, 8 hours sleep, 8 hours work. Do something else with the other 8 hours. You either wake up earlier or you stay up later. Just don't make an excuse to be like, but I can't do that because I've got a commute an hour home. Well, then get a job which is closer to home, which I know is easier said than done.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I did. I was like, I don't have enough clients where I live. Right, well, what if I moved to town? So I moved to town. There is always something that is going to stop you, but just stop making excuses.
Yeah, I guess there's no right time, is that? It's really easy to just put it off and put it off and put it off.
It is. Just do that thing. Just do that thing. And perfectionism is an excuse for insecurity. And you just be like, but I'm not ready to do this thing until this is perfect. And you're like, well, then you're obviously not good enough. Because if you were good enough, you would have done it. That's that one.
Yeah, that's great. Finally, last thing, if I want to get a really cool mullet, where do I need to go?
I take it this is the plug. Yeah. You can come see us at Mugshot Barber, 8 Perry Road, Bristol, BS1. You can book us online through Google or Booksy. And then you can walk down the road and get a really nice coffee at 808 Cafe and Bar Limited.
It's the only way to celebrate getting an amazing mullet blowing in the wind.
Yes.
So sweet macchiato.
Yeah, go for it. We're there. I'm there Tuesday to Saturday. The shop's open Monday to Saturday. The cafe is open Monday to Friday. At the moment, we'll be doing weekends at some point.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kenny. It's been delightful chatting to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.